Hi everyone, this is Dan, and I'm here to talk about, for the sake of confidentiality, I'll call him Jay. So Jay is a young boy who has just recently turned 5 years old and has just graduated from preschool. He's on his way to kindergarten next fall and is very eager to go. Now, I have worked with the family of Jay for many times, and there's two other brothers that he has that are both older, and all three of them are great, great boys. So when I drove to Jay's house, when I got there, he was standing at the door looking outside, waiting for me, waving. And I think this is pretty adorable because when the previous times where I've worked with his older brothers, they have done the same thing. And it's just a lovely thing to see. It's great to see how excited they are to work with me, and it made me very happy and excited to work as well. When I walked in, Jay was right away talking my ear off, and he was so excited. It was just so great to see. It got to the point where it was hard for their father to even welcome me into their house because he just wanted to talk the entire time. Talk about what we were doing, talking about what he's been doing, talking about what he wanted to play with me after, if I wanted to play with him. It was great. It was very adorable. So when we walked into their living room, it was awesome because their living room is an extremely safe and comfortable looking environment. And I know that it is a very authentic place for these kids to work. When I went in there, there's a couch that's a soft couch for them to work on. There's a nice carpet to work on. And they even have their own desks to write and draw on. And they even have their own bookshelf for the boys, for all their books that they want. So it was really lovely. So the first time I went and worked with them, I did it to strictly go over interviews as well as get a feel for the area in which I was working with Jay. So I talked to Jay first, and then I talked to his dad because his mom was at work. So when I talked to Jay, I would ask him questions like, do you like to read and do you like to write? So when I asked him, do you like to read, immediately says yes, starts talking about how him and his brothers have these Lego books and how they love to read their Lego books and then they play with their Lego books, everything about these Lego books. And it got to the point where Jay just kept talking and talking, where it started to feel like he was just kind of going off on a rant, so I'd have to stop him. But it was lovely to see all this great conversation that me and him were having. So the first time was strictly for interviews and for getting a sense of the environment. The next time I went to work with them was to do some of the assessments. The first assessment I started with was letter identification. So when I did my letter identification, it went very well. Jay was saying everything quick. He got all of the capital letters except for one, which was G. And then for lowercase, he missed about 4. And a lot of times he would say the letter and he would also say, oh, D like my friend Dylan. So he knew what words started with that letter as well. So it was great to see. So my letter identification went very, very well. Jay was actually above the mean score for kids at his age with letter identification. So that was really lovely, and I was happy to see that. An obstacle that I faced, though, was that when I went to do my running records, when I went to do my word identification, and when I went to do my writing vocabulary. Now, Jay told me he does like to read, and he does like to write, but I think his sense of reading and writing was a little different, because when he showed me his ability to read, I noticed that he actually could not read a book, but he just remembered from memory from when it was read to him by his parents. And when I spoke to his dad later in the interview, he also said that he likes to read, but it's all in memory. So it was actually interesting to see that although Jay does know most of his letters, he still is not able to read, and that even goes for word recognition. There was no words that he actually could recognize except for the word I, and I used the pre-primer list, the earliest list I had. For writing, when I asked Jay about it, he said he knows how to spell his name. Everything else becomes kind of scribble scrabbles in the words that he chose. His dad said that he doesn't like to really write, which I notice is an interesting connection to my 631 case study, and that student also did not like to write. I apologize. So I noticed that a lot of kids these days do not really like to write. And when I performed my writing vocabulary assessment with him, he wrote his name quickly, and then after that said, "I don't know any other words." He tried writing the word "I" with my prompt, and it turned into a stick figure, which goes very much into what he said about how he only knows how to write his name, and then the rest is scribble scrabbles. So overall, I got a lot about language from Jay, even if I didn't get a lot from reading and writing. I noticed that through deep conversations, through purposeful talk, through conversations with adults, Jay has really formed and really developed a strong language for his age. It's great because not only does he read with his parents and talk with his parents, but his older brothers are very big mentors to him as well. He talked constantly about how he sits and listens to his brothers read him books all the time. So what I got mostly from my work with Jay is how strongly he's developed his language through purposeful talk and grand conversations with others, especially his peers and his family. As much as I was a struggle to do reading and writing, I still had a great time learning a lot about Jay and his development in literacy. Overall, I would say that it was a very successful time working with Jay.